Joining us now is physiotherapist Dawn Siegel. Hey there, Dawn.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, and you
Good.
too?
Very well, thank you.
Our person of the week is hopefully doing well too, and he has a question, Don Cunnings. What do you have to say?
As a physiotherapist, what would you recommend and form in terms of an exercise program for those of us in the society that are older and very inactive?
It's a really great question. How do you start?
Where do you start? Okay, so as a physiotherapist, we're university trained professionals, and our main emphasis is to get people mobile again. That's what we're trained in. We're experts in mobility. So when I would get a client, first of all, we'd take a detailed history, and then we'd find out, do they have any limitations that prevent them from getting into an active program right away?
What do you mean by limitation?
Well, limitation could be an osteoarthritic hip or knee. It could be changes in vision. Perhaps they have cataracts or they have macular degeneration. There are a number of different conditions that might affect what kinds of activities we would choose for them. So we look at that, we look at the concurrent medical conditions, and we take a detailed history and we say, okay, what did you enjoy doing in your life? What are you passionate about? So once we find out what they like to do, why are they not still doing it? What happened in their life that had them give up that activity? And we find this all the time. People maybe have an injury, something that prevents them from, per se, running, and for instance, and they give up running after you've rehabilitated them from the injury because that's how they got their injury. So rather than rehabilitate, get back to running, they choose not to run again. And that's not good.
So in terms of, say you've got someone who they've just stopped for whatever reason and they're just fine. If they were to come to you and say, I don't have any problems, I do want to get going, what do I have to do preventatively to make sure that I can just sail through and continue to build and build and build my fitness level and not suffer any of these issues that would bring them in to see you?
Right, okay. So first of all, I would say, okay, let's start with the basic building blocks of a program. You need to have something which is cardiovascular, challenging your heart, preferably something that's aerobic. You need to commit to doing the activity a minimum of 3 days a week, right?
What's max?
Max is every day. Max
wow.
is every day. I think people should have at least 30 to 60 minutes of physical activity every single day. So they should have something which is cardiovascular. They should have something which is weight bearing. And the reason I bring that up is that we lose bone density as we get older. And weight bearing activities could be walking, it could be dancing, it could be snowshoeing. Anything that we do on our feet helps to build bone.
I would imagine there are the really popular run-of-the-mill injuries that you see that can be largely avoided if someone takes a few precautions.
That's true.
There must be certain isometric exercises or maybe just a whole round of simple little exercises you do every day that would act as kind of like a vitamin and mineral program, you know,
Right.
that would stop those things from occurring.
Okay, so if someone came in and said, okay, I'd like a cookie cutter approach, and I'd like to just get going. I would say, okay, cardiovascular wise, let's choose walking or let's choose a bike. Let's choose a stationary bike. Let's get your heart moving. Let's make sure that we can build some core strength in your abdominal muscles. So I don't care how old you are, as long as you have, a brain and blood supply, you can learn how to do core activities. So you need to be able to have good core strength. The other thing you want to work on is leg strength. Right? Leg strength is really important. You want to be doing exercises for the quadriceps, the muscles at the front of your leg, the hamstrings at the back of your leg. You want to be introducing some flexibility component so that people can, after they exercise, go through a stretching regime. We don't stretch before we exercise anymore, we stretch when our muscles are warm.
One of the things that I've heard is really an issue that can affect people's ability to get out and exercise is something that you wouldn't think of initially, but it's to do with balance. Can you speak to how to work with that changing ability? Because as we age, we tend to have balance issues.
We do, and actually 30% of the people after age 65 suffer a fall which needs medical attention. That's a huge statistic.
that's a
It's a huge
big number.
statistic. And I think falls prevention is a huge, huge area. As a physiotherapist, we do a falls analysis. We have a checklist of things that we ask people to do. It's really a fun thing to do. We give them a score, and that score will indicate to us and to them whether they're likely to have a fall in the next 12 months.
Well, it sounds like a little bit of awareness and education and thinking means that you can really go a long way happily and be able to keep up with Dawn, you know, maybe after just 6 months or so.
Absolutely, and I encourage people to take on new activities. I think that's very important. Try things you've never done before. You know, put some excitement in your life. If you've never snowshoed, go snowshoeing. It's easy. Get yourself some walking poles and get into the bush and hike, just as long as it's fun and it keeps you active.
Yeah, I love the fun component. That's a really big part of it, because then you want to keep going.
Absolutely, and you might find a group of friends who you like to do those things with, and keep trying new things. Dancing is a great activity.
Dawn Siegel, thanks for your inspiration.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
North of 49, a guide to the rest of your life.